Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the slightly above average ship review. We are on Crash Zone. We are top tier in a domination match. And the goal of this video is to do an overview of the changes made to carrier gameplay. Allegedly, according to Wargaming, the changes were made for 5 reasons. Number 1, increased simplicity and comfort for new carrier players. I would say they achieved that. Number 2, increase activity while playing this aircraft carrier. Probably yes. Number 3, encourage carriers to move closer to the battle. They kind of have to now based on the fuel consumable for the planes. Making them more vulnerable, that's debatable. It totally depends on how much the enemy team is going to push and where. Move carriers towards a point where they can be integrated into alternative battle modes. I think that would be a terrible idea. Increase the feeling of progression and difference between carriers within and between tech trees. So I think what they mean by that is carriers of a same nation tech tree will feel more similar to each other. Carriers from different nations' tech trees won't feel the same at all. I was perusing Reddit before I started playing this match, and I have heard reports of a 500k XP damage gain, or 500k damage gain in a legendary tier carrier, the Japanese one. Rukyu, whatever it is. So 500,000 damage in a carrier. Yikes. Alright, so we're in the Independence. My favorite carrier, as you well know. For personal reasons, also because I love the color scheme of these torpedo planes. The yellow wings and the green tail, I think, looks absolutely fantastic. Anyway, we're moving out. I'm going to tell you, I want to say, if I had to spitball, I think my best damage game in the Independence prior to this rework is probably about 81, 82, 83, 84,000 damage, somewhere in that neighborhood. Definitely not that I can think of over 100k. Although, you know, it may be. I don't remember. But I'll just tell you that this game is going to absolutely eradicate that game in terms of damage. So let's say, for the sake of argument, my standing record in the Independence is 80k prior to this game. We're going to have more than double 80k damage in this game. And so my advice to you is play carriers now and get your XP records in carriers now, because I can't imagine this being sustainable going forward, because carriers in the hands of a strong player are now one of the most dangerous ships on the map. Now, they did make some nerfs to carriers. Allegedly, I'm using quotes. One of these has to do with spotting. Now when a carrier spots an enemy ship, it only spots them on the mini-map. So that's something to think about. They also changed that for ship-launched planes. They only spot to the mini-map. They can't detect ships or torpedoes now on their own unless they're in regular spotting distance of the ship they're launching. If I'm interpreting the notes correctly. But yeah, the ships that I'm spotting are only spotted to the minimap, and the rest of them, they have to be double spotted, I guess, by me, my ship, or another ship to actually pop up into view for everyone else. Alright, so here we are just launching. I love doing these double runs where you bomb one ship and move on to another ship. This ship has no chance. And he's dead for our first kill. And right here I was like, oh hey, 47,000 damage, pretty nice. I better maneuver forward a little bit. Because you can see when you launch your planes, they have that fuel indicator. The little gas can is moving from green to red. When you run out of fuel, you go back to your carrier. So really got to squeeze. You can see the little green gas can down in the bottom middle of the HUD display for this flight of airplanes. When that gas can gets to the far left side, you run out of fuel, you go back to your ship, and those planes are lost. So they also made the planes have less hit points each, but you get more airplanes. They also made you drop more bombs, but the bombs do less damage. Really, I just hate to say it, I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Now, we're not talking about torpedoes. Torpedoes really didn't change for the most part. But when we're talking about the HE bombs and stuff like that, you'll get more bombs. They will do slightly less damage. All right. Aerial spotting, new type of spotting, separate from ship spotting. When your aircraft spots an enemy ship, it will be highlighted only on the minimap for the rest of your team. Catapult fighters and spotters, which is now called an observation seaplane, no longer spot ships. All aircraft can no longer spot torpedoes. Hangar size, the aircraft carriers have larger hangars and a reduced restoration time. If you remember back in the beginning when I did a carrier video, I said restoration time is the most important thing. They are doing this to reduce the necessity of the pre-drop tactic, which we may or may not have talked about. That's when you launch a flight of airplanes and you believe that some of them are going to get shot down without being able to do any damage. You'll do a fake run just in the open water to send those 2 planes back to the ship to help your restoration time. Wargaming's change here is so you won't have to do that fake pre-drop and you'll be able to launch all of your airplanes. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen, but we're going up against some American battleships here that have pretty good AA, so I mean, I think, yeah, you could say it's kind of doing that. How well it's doing it, yeah, that remains to be seen.
All stations,
squadron speed, you can go as fast as you want, infinitely, it doesn't matter. It says most carrier aircraft have had their flight speed increased by 10%. Dive bombers allowed to carry more bombs. Each bomb will be less effective. I think it's 10% less damage. Often, it says often have reduced penetration fire setting chance. I really didn't see a reduction in the fire setting chance, to be frank. Alright, continuing on here, we're up to 80,000 damage. I want to show you the side drop here. If you have to side drop, just get 1/2 of the reticle over the ship and drop it. Right like that. Most of the bombs landed on the back half, but at least you'll get a hit. If you put your reticle directly crossways over a perpendicular enemy ship, I think most of your bombs will miss. Hopefully I explained that correctly. I'm not good at algebra. Alright, skip bombers. They have to skip at least once before they do any damage, so if you're playing a Russian carrier, those bombs have to hit the water and skip once before they can strike the enemy ship. You cannot just drop them in on the enemy hull and expect to get damage. They're talking about linear progression of power, reduction of total health of the squadron. In most cases, the fuel stuff, we already talked about that. And scrolling. I'm really looking at the internet and not the match here very much. I'm trying to get to my carrier to tell you the differences in it. And I still can't believe they allow me to launch straight into the face of an island, but they do. And I think we're closing in another kill here in the Nevada. You'll have to pardon me, I can't watch the screen and talk about the ship changes. So let's talk about the independence. Bombs per aircraft went from 1 to 3. Aircraft per squadron went from 6 to 9. Number of attacking aircraft per strike went from 2 to 3. Accuracy of a dive bomb increased from 25 to 50%. Maximum HP reduced. So the squadron went from per aircraft went from 2,200 to 1,850. The squadron itself gained about 3,450 XP among all the new airplanes. Base speed went up from 115 to 127 knots. Flight speed is set to 31 kilometers. I'm presuming that's an increase. The aircraft hangar increased by 2 planes. The restoration time was reduced from 65 to 57 seconds. The aircraft restored increased from 1 to 3. Bomb damage was reduced by 10,000 points of damage. Wow. 15,500 to 5,500. Bomb penetration reduced from 53.4 to 42.7. Fire setting chance lost 16 points for those HE bombers. The planes we're in right now. All right, we got our second kill. We have over 100,000 damage. Don't worry, we still have a big chunk of damage left to go. At this point, I think we have a chance here because I am so powerful in this thing. And you guys know, I really don't play carriers that much. I really don't. They comprise a very small percentage of what I do in this game. Mostly battleships and destroyers. Yeah, this thing is OP, and I'm imagining all of the carriers are OP. So if you wanted to delve into carriers, now would be the time. All right, back to the Independence torpedo bombers. Number of aircraft per squadron went up from 6 to 8. Average hit points went from 2,550 to 1,700, and the squadron hit points were actually reduced. It looks like by 1,700 hit points overall. Base speed was increased from 105 to 115 knots. The flight range was set to 29 kilometers, so 2 kilometers less than the HE bombers. Starting aircraft hangar increased from 12 to 16. Restoration time reduced by 10 seconds from 67 to 57. Aircraft restored increased from 1 to 2. That is just the Independence. I encourage you to check out the quote Ministry of Balance unquote patch notes for each individual ship. As you can see, at 119,000 we have the high caliber and the Confederate metal, and we are still fighting on here in the Independence. Alright, torpedo bombers moving in. I think this is probably in Nevada maybe, or in Arizona. And not perfectly lined up, but I think we're going to get one strike out of that. As you can see, I did move forward into the other cap circle here. And I'm going to try to cap that out to help my team because we lost a ship. We're at 130,000 damage right now in the Independence. So, I mean, folks, I'm telling you, they have made carriers easily the strongest class in this game. And if you're going to play them now. And then hope they don't nerf them, I guess. But I can see a lot of people taking a break right now because this could be very infuriating. You don't want to play carriers at all. There's another fire. We're over 140,000 damage. Here's another one of these chain drops. I'm trying to get it off here. And we just barely get the rear half of the circle on and still get some hits out of that as we cap out Alpha. Alright, we are not quitting. We are the last ship, but we are not giving up. Independence versus West Virginia, Arizona, and Ranger. Wanted to move behind the island, but the autopilot put me in front of it. That's fine. We are going to fight until the last minute here. We are still fighting, and we're going to go down swinging. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't find just one of these ships to focus on. As you can see, the gas can goes down really quickly. So we decided to go after the carrier here. And I'm just hoping instead of flood, that can't be stopped. And now normally when you went after a carrier, you get your one sortie, your one launch run, and that'd be it. Your planes would be vaporized. And here, my planes, I did lose a plane, but my planes aren't vaporized. I'm allowed to keep flying, and we're going to do this chain drop on the other ship here. So, yeah, they have made this totally different, and if you have just a modicum of skill in carriers now, you can really, really excel, in my opinion. We're at 158,000 damage, and we're still going. And there's another flight, as you can see. More airplanes. We're going after the carrier again. I'm just hoping to set them on fire. Unfortunately, I think we only have about 10 seconds left. I was hoping to set a fire that would burn them out, but we're not going to have enough time. We are going to get the drop off. We are going to get a bomb strike, but that is going to be the end of the match. All right, so here we are in the defeat screen. High caliber medal, Confederate medal, 163,679 total damage, 16 torpedo strikes, 53 bomb hits. We had 2 kills, and we had a solo base cap for our efforts, ending up with just over 342,000 silver, just short of 4,000 ship XP, just over 4,000 commander XP in the loss in the USS Independence. So you get a more newbie-friendly carrier like the Royal Navy carriers, the Russian carriers. You could easily do more damage than this. Here we are at the top of the board. 2 medals, 2 big kills. I'm kind of shocked that the Ranger wasn't at the top of the board. But granted, I think his team was stronger, and that's borne out. I think our team was obviously not as good. And so, try as I might, I was unable to will our team over the finish line. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe down below. Love to hear your thoughts about the carrier rework. I will see you on Thursday.